G'day guys, Pete Moriarty here. In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through why we chose Asana for our task management internally at IT Genius. Asana is a great app, been using it for many years, and I'm going to be taking you through all of the reasons we chose this for our business productivity. So Asana is a shared task collaboration app, and there's plenty of options out there on the marketplace for you if you're interested in working with a team and making sure that you can actually get tasks done. Now, we've done lots of videos on productivity. Go check out our YouTube channel for those. But what's important about this video is why we chose Asana over other apps and other options that are out there. And so there's Trello, there's Podio, there's Monday.com, there's all kinds of different apps out there, and they all want to help you be more productive and help you and your team get work done. And so I'm going to be sharing what's our reasoning behind going with Asana, and for the companies that we've recommended Asana to, which is about 500 odd of those. First thing I want to talk about, the reason that we started working with it is about betting the right horse. Now, this is a really big one for me. I'm a business strategist, and I always like to think 5, 10, or even more years ahead in where business is going to be. And one of the things that I noticed with different task management platforms is they kind of like pop up and down over the years, and some of them are very platform or vendor centric, like one that I used to use, 10 or 15 years ago called Things on my Mac. That was a really, really nice app, but when everything moved to the browser, they actually were quite slow and really didn't get their cloud synchronization happening. And then other tools, I think one was called Remember the Milk, really weirdly, kind of started popping up and going into the browser. And so very quickly you'll notice which companies move quickly in the cloud space and which ones move slowly. And if you have a look at what the product development is like in an app or in a company, gives you a bit of a good idea of where they're going to be in 5 or 10 years in terms of market leadership position, and therefore revenue, and therefore the ability to reinvest in the improvement of the product. You can see how this is a cycle, right? So I'm always really big on picking products and vendors that are going to really go the distance. Now, that's one of the reasons why we picked G Suite over working with the Microsoft ecosystem. Now, some of that was a competitive play. Most of the IT industry is very Microsoft centric. So we said, well, let's zag while everyone else is zigging, right? That made sense for us. But also what we saw with Google G Suite is that because everything runs in the browser, there's just less maintenance, there's less downtime, and we know that it's so easy for a small business to get started with G Suite. Then there's, really, let's say, a competitive advantage that Google has when new businesses are being founded, that they're likely to choose Google because of their consumer penetration over something like Microsoft, right? So this is not a Google shilling video. This is just illustrating the point of backing the right horse is important. And so, outside of what features does it have, is it going to fit my scope? Do I like the interface of an app when I'm choosing it? You also should be thinking about, well, where is this company going to be in 5 or 10 years? Because if I'm going to be putting my data into this system, and many of these cloud systems make it a little bit challenging to get your data back out, you want to make sure that you're betting the right horse now so that in the future you're actually going to be in a good position. What's like the oldest task management system that you remember? Were you using everyone's used pen and paper at some point in their life, right? But were you using Outlook tasks? Were you using Google Tasks in the browser? Yeah, let me know what's the first task management system that you remember. I'm curious. And if you're watching the replay, just drop that down in the comments below, and we'll check that out later. Okay, so let me show you guys one of the reasons why we picked Asana. Now that's about the founders of Asana. And so these two guys are Dustin Moskovich and Justin Rosenstein. These guys are both pretty clever dudes, California, Silicon Valley. They started, actually Dustin co-founded Facebook, which is pretty big, right? So he was there in the very, very early days, literally with Mark, building Facebook as a product. And then Justin actually was at Google, where he worked on, get this, what was the precursor to Google Sites, and then also Google Drive as well. He was on both of those projects before he then went, did he go to Facebook? Yeah, he did go over to Facebook, and he was one of the engineering leads at Facebook, and then he left to create Asana. So both of these guys who are the co-founders are pretty clever dudes, and when you have someone with that much kind of, let's be frank, money behind them, so they are no longer inhibited by money in their startup, but also they've made enough money to retire and have the rest of their lives taken care of. So if all of they care about is creating great products, really, really changes their perception and really, really changes their intention and their priorities when they're building a product, because they care less about how am I going to make money from this. What they care more about is how can I create a really great product that's going to have lasting impact. So that's probably the first reason, is the founders. That's why I really backed these guys, and I really backed the actual product. So let's move in the next step, why we love Asana. and that is about all about how easy it is to get started and the pricing. Because Asana is free for the first 15 people to use it, and that's not just free for first 15 humans, it's actually free for the first 15 people on a team, and a business can have more than one team. See where I'm getting with this, right? So if you've got a business that's larger than 15 people, you can actually spin up multiple teams inside Asana and use it for free. Now that's pretty crazy. Now when it first came out, I think it was more like 20 or 30 users could use it for free, and then they moved to like a Teams model, and they've kind of adjusted that a little bit. But what I really, really love about that is, like any great product, if it has a really great free version, then you can actually get used to the product and get a lot done as a small or a micro business without having to jump straight into spending dollars. And everyone loves getting a good deal, and it's very hard to beat free, right? It's very good to start there. Now, there's some businesses that can kind of catch you out with that. A business like Slack will, after you've gone through 10,000 messages inside of Slack, actually lock you out of searching for those older messages. You can't actually retrieve your old data. Thankfully, Asana doesn't do that. So you can have as much data in there as you want, and you're never going to get, let's say, locked out of the system, right? And so that's one of the things that I love about Asana, is it's so easy for teams to get started with it. And what that means is that you are able to get most of your work done without having to shell out any pennies for it. I will admit that we spent the first 5 or 6 years using Asana without a paid account, and we've only literally just in the last few months switched to a paid account because there were some very specific features that we wanted from the paid plan that made it useful. But many of our customers will actually just use the free plan and use it for many, many years without any issue. Now, let me show you guys a little magic trick. When you sign up for an account with Asana, you want to make sure you use your business account, and I'm going to show you why here in a second. So I'm going to go along to asana.com. If you want to get that free for 15 users account, when you go and click on to try and you go to log in, the most important thing you can do, here we go, is log in with your Google account. So hit the login button and then use your Google account, because if you're on G Suite, what it's going to do is it's actually going to tie Asana to your business domain name, and that's how you can set up the multiple teams. If you sign up with like a Gmail account, or you just use your email address and it's like, outlook.com or something else that's not a Google business account, then you don't get that multiple teams feature. You'll only get one team of up to 15 people. So if that's a constraint for you, then that's a little pro tip there on getting signed up and making sure you get the free account. Okay, apart from the pricing and that aside, let's talk about what we really like using Asana for on a day-to-day basis, because that's really where it's actually important, is like, how do we actually use it on a day-to-day basis? The thing I love about Asana is it's pretty damn simple. It's easy to use. We've got, if you haven't seen Asana before, this is like what the board view looks like. And so I'm sharing my live Asana here with you guys. And so I can, grab tasks and I can drag and drop them. And then if I want to open up into an individual task, you can see I've literally got, this is a task for my presentation this evening. So you can see I've got all of the notes and the details that I'll put onto Facebook. And then, if I wanted to create subtasks, I can create subtasks. So we've got this is like an overarching task, which is a campaign. We've got a bunch of subtasks that are assigned to different people. Different people have different deadlines on there. That's all pretty straightforward. If I open up an individual task, we can have conversations back and forward. We can tag each other like Facebook. I'm going through this quickly because most task management systems, that they're going to do the same kind of thing. You're going to have the ability to set deadlines. You're going to have the ability to have a conversation thread on your tasks. You can create recurring tasks. You can attach documents to your tasks. They're all pretty standard features. Where Asana really shines is it's simple, right? Now, you may have looked at that board setup and said, well, Pete, what if I don't want to work in a visual way? What if I'm more of a task list type person, right? So if I go into my tasks here, I can click the list and it'll actually just let me look at all the tasks in a list, and I can, sort them how I want by due date or whatever else. I can look at Timeline. Timeline is a paid feature, but that one's pretty handy. But everyone gets, even on the free accounts, you get the calendar feature, which is pretty cool. And so the ease of use is probably the biggest one for Asana. And where it really stands out against other products is Asana will let you do a lot of things with one button click, where in other systems you've got to use 2 or 3 button clicks. And some of them are very list heavy, like teamwork.com is very list heavy. And then some are, I would say, maybe too visual. And that I'd put Trello in that box, right? It's really, really great visually. But if you're more of a structured kind of list type person, tasks and subtasks, then it can kind of get a little bit messy. And so Asana is really great for both both of those styles where you can switch between the list view and the board view, and you can actually work with both of those quite fluidly, which is nice. So we've gone through like the ease of use in Asana, and the next one is the app. The mobile app is really nice. It wasn't always great, but it's pretty good these days. It synchronizes nicely and the search works and those kind of things. But like most cloud applications, it's not fantastic if you've got a spotty internet connection. And if you've got a lot of tasks in there, the app is not necessarily going to cache every single task forever. But the app there is pretty darn good. So that's probably the number one thing. The other thing that I like about Asana is it's not just about lists and tasks. Asana also understand how you run a project, and a project needs project updates or project progress, as they call it in Asana. And what I love is the progress feature, because it allows us to do a check-in on how projects are going. And so this may be a project for a certain area of the business. It might be a literal implementation project that has a start, a middle, and an ending. But what the progress feature allows you to do is do some updates on where things are at. Now, this has recently been revamped, which is pretty cool. And so I'm going to show you an example of what our marketing team, which we call our Attract team, our project looks like. And so you can see here, each week we do a sync when we meet up on Tuesday, myself and Angel, and all I have to do is click the update status button. I'm going to say whether this project is on track or at risk. That's pretty straightforward. And then I can put in notes, what we've accomplished, what's blocked, and then what our next actions are, which is pretty cool. Now, in the new revamped version of this, so I would just put the word sync there. You can actually go ahead and have a look at, wow, in the last 2 weeks we've completed 22 tasks, and I can actually drag and drop these into the project status update. And so what this is really great for is if you've got a team and you are doing, let's say, like a weekly meeting, a weekly retrospective meeting, and you're like checking in on how your tasks are and where the project progress is up to, then this is the kind of notes that you would do as a scribe for your meeting minutes. You'd put them all in there, and then automatically this gets distributed to everyone who's a member of that project. And so this is really the way that you keep everyone in sync. And then, of course, after you've actually sent that out, so let me go and show you one of my other examples here. I'll go to the one that I did earlier today. So you can see what's accomplished, what's blocked, and then what the actions are, and we'll just tag people into the actions there. So anyone who was mentioned can jump in there and comment, and anyone else who's a part of the Attract project can also see that, comment, update, make any adjustments that need to be made as well. So that's really great when you've got projects and you want to just kind of like do the check-in or the sync on those projects. Cool. So let's talk about the next thing. I want to talk a little bit about some of the premium features of Asana and why you may consider upgrading. Now, as I said, we used Asana for the first 6 years until we were above 30 people in our organization without bothering going up to the paid plan. Absolutely not mandatory, but there are a couple of cool features that make it pretty worthwhile if you decide to consider to move up. One of those is called portfolios, and that's what this looks like. And here is where you can see a bird's eye view of where different projects are at status-wise. And so you can see here I'm only really managing some executive projects and then some of the marketing projects as well. But if I wanted to, I could go and look into finance, I could look into the delivery team, I could look into the sales team, I could look into the internal R&D team, and basically see where all of those projects are up to at a glance. And because our project team are running anything in the realm of 20 or 30 or 50 sometimes projects concurrently at any one time, you need people to be able to actually keep tabs on those. And even if your internal projects are for a small business like a gym or a fitness center, which we have put Asana into a bunch of times, just making sure that you're keeping tabs on exactly where the different areas are up to. Like you might have one project for your PTs, one project for your front of house staff, and then another project for sales staff. And you can keep all of those just kind of rolling up into that what's called portfolio view, which will allow you to see everything that's going on. The other thing that I like about this is, which is really cool, is the ability to see workload. So I can see everyone who's on each one of these tasks, and I can actually see how many tasks are assigned to them, and you can use that for a little bit of very rudimentary capacity management. And so that works really nicely and is super useful. The other thing that's really cool is custom fields. You may have noticed, if you've got a clever eye, in my content here, I've got my live stream for tonight, and we've created a custom field called channel. And so we'll choose where is the publishing channel for the piece of content that we're creating. We give that a color as well, so it makes it really obvious. And then we can see for every bit of content which kind of channel that we need to work on and prepare for us producing and putting that content out there. So that's another really, really handy feature that I love. The final one that I want to share with you, this is not actually a premium feature. This is available just in the basic version, is the roll-up of tasks. And so this works really well for your strategic execution. And in our remote work playbook, if you've not yet got access to that, you should check that one out. We went through a deep dive on how we use a book called Scaling Up by Verne Harnish, which covers the Rockefeller habits. Let me give you a look at that book there. Very, very cool book on business strategic execution. And we use Asana for all of that execution. And so you can see here that we have our exec strategy, which is like the very, very, very kind of top level task. And then under that task, we have subtasks. So for each area of the business, we've got subtasks for finance, marketing, sales team, customer service team, delivery support team. And then each of those basically rolls up into this project here, which is for our pod leaders, which is for our leadership team. Yet, if I was to go into one of these individual ones, so let's go to the marketing task for the year. They've got their KPI for the quarter. You can see here we've got a bunch of notes that are important to them, some information that's important to the whole team, and then again we have subtasks. So if we've got this is the annual task, then under there we've got what we're working on this quarter. And if we go, for example, into the quarterly task here, this is our remote work playbook campaign. You can see here we've got the tasks as they're going through week by week, and this week we're working through, funnily enough, managing tasks. And I'm going to take you guys through that a little bit later in this video. And I'm going to answer a couple of questions here, and then we will come back. So Carl has asked, have you been able to integrate Asana, or have you seen it integrate with Xero, and in particular the data in Xero Practice Manager, the client list, to use it for workflow for an accounting firm? That is an excellent question, Carl. And I like that question because Asana is beautifully integrated with an application called Zapier. And if you haven't heard of Zapier, let me bring that bad boy up and show you guys what Zapier is all about. Zapier is how you can connect different cloud apps, and as they say on their website, very obvious here, and automate workflows. What it does is it gets your different cloud apps talking to each other. So if you've got a web form on your website, and when someone fills out that form, you want a message to pop up in your Google chat so that your team can see there's a new lead, or on that web form, if someone ticks a box, you want to add them to your marketing list, you can automatically have your WordPress form go into your Infusionsoft or your Ontraport or your ActiveCampaign or wherever your contacts are. Or if you've got someone who purchases something inside of Xero and you want to automatically create a task in Asana for an onboarding step, or if you've got a task in Asana and once it's completed, you want something else to happen in a Google spreadsheet, all of these apps can basically talk to each other. I know I'm going down a Zapier rabbit hole here, but this is a very, very cool app. So if you didn't catch that logo there in the top left-hand corner, and of course I'm blocking it now, aren't I? There we go. There we go. You can see the little one there, Zapier. That one helps you to connect all those apps. And our team can actually help you with that as well. Now, the big question is, does it work with Xero Practice Manager? Yes, it does. I don't know how deep the integration is though. So I know there are some functions available that will let Asana and Xero Practice Manager talk to each other. If you are someone who's experienced that, then maybe you can drop a comment below. So last one for me to cover is why we would choose Asana over the different competitors that are available in the marketplace. You've got competitors like Monday.com really pushing for market share. You've got Trello, you've got Teamwork.com, you've got even Podio as well, right? And these are all very feature-rich apps, and they do a great job. And I don't want to put crap on any one of those apps. They all do a great job, and they're all useful for businesses. So why do we choose Asana over those different apps? I've covered some of the reasons why we like Asana as a product in itself, but more specifically with the different apps, let me give you a little bit of contrast. Monday.com, while it's an excellent app and probably a bit more feature-rich than Asana, it is on the expensive side, and there isn't really a free plan. You can get a trial, but then you've kind of got to start paying for it. And we really try and put forward and suggest apps that are useful for small and micro businesses, even startups, people who have only one employee or even no employees. And so putting something forward that is pay out of the gate is a little bit difficult. And so Monday was pretty much immediately taken out of our recommendations because it's better suited for larger kind of mid-market companies that are much more established. Now, is it a bad app? No, it's an excellent app. It's really great. But also when you compare the paid plan of Monday to the paid plan of Asana, it's nearly double the price. And so we really love Asana because it's not as expensive. It means that you're not worrying too much about the subscriptions piling up as you grow. And overall, Monday is a great app feature-wise, but we didn't think it was as appropriate to our really smaller business customers. Next up is teamwork.com. And I actually switched away from Asana for a year and used Teamwork, and then ended up coming back to Asana. The reason for that is there were too many mouse clicks. I found in Teamwork, there was like 1 or 2 extra mouse clicks for things that I wanted to do, whereas Asana, it was just 1, and I liked the interface better. Simple as that. The mobile app was better as well. It was a little bit more fluid. But apart from that, what Teamwork does have going for it is Teamwork actually has a great chat app, and Teamwork also has a ticketing system as well. So if you're interested in more of a kind of ecosystem where you can chat to your customers and, you can chat internally with your team, but you can also do tickets with your customers alongside your tasks, then Teamwork might be something that you consider. Wrike is another one that we get lots of questions about, and we've got a few customers that are using Wrike. I really like Wrike because the interface is, I would say, maybe even more fluid than Asana. Really, really great app. I did use it for a little while, and I couldn't bring myself away from Asana. I think Asana just having that much more in its user base and momentum as a company and more financial backing behind it, I just liked betting on that horse more than I did the app Wrike, although I really loved it, and it's got some excellent integrations. Wrike is really built for those that are tech savvy and really switched on. So if that's you, then perhaps have a look at that. What haven't I covered? Podio is pretty much dead, unfortunately. Citrix bought it and they kind of killed it. It's a bit of a shame, but for those that have already invested workflows into Podio, great app there, but I probably wouldn't touch it if you're interested in choosing something new now. And the last one for me to cover would be Trello. I covered this earlier. It's very, very visual, but not so great when you've got lots and lots of different projects running concurrently and you've got a really large team, because I found that as things were growing inside of Trello, I would have to switch between different Trello boards constantly, and it just started to slow me down. I didn't enjoy it, and I really like the tasks features of Asana. Okay, so I hope this has been useful for you guys. That's all the reasons why we chose Asana. We really love it, and if you're interested, we have recently been signed as one of the only small business partners for Asana globally. And so we can consult, we can help you implement it. And as I said, we've been responsible for about 500 companies implementing Asana in their businesses on the paid plan or the free plan. So if you're interested in either of those, we'd really appreciate it if you chatted to our team. Even if you're not interested in our consulting services, then at a minimum, you can buy the licenses through us, and that's absolutely fine. That helps us just that little bit, and we can continue creating great content like this. And if you're interested in some more hands-on services from our team, then all of our team are trained and certified in Asana. We have about 20 of our consultants that are certified in Asana, which is pretty cool. Now, if you're interested in Asana and integrations with other apps, we're also really good at that. So if you want to get Asana talking to your Google chat, like Tumai mentioned, if you want to get Asana talking to Zapier, if you want to get it, creating tasks in Asana when someone buys something on your website, or when someone, has a new account created inside of Xero, then they're all the kind of things that we can help with. So if you're interested in that, just jump onto the chat link below and send us a message. We'll be happy to have a chat about your business situation and see what we can do to help. Okay, I'm going to catch you in the next one, guys. If you haven't already joined our groups, there's 2 groups in the links below this video. One of those is for our Remote Revolution group, where we're helping businesses scale remote teams. And the second group is for G Suiters. If you're already on G Suite, you're already in the Google ecosystem, then you're going to get some value out of that group. I'm going to say thank you to everyone. We've got 1 or 2 more questions. Going to wrap up here, but we'll finish the questions first. Carl has asked, can you add G Suite links to tasks or cards like in Trello? That's a good question, Carl. There's a couple of ways to connect Google Drive into your Asana. So let me go ahead and open up my task here. You'll see here that I've got, we actually don't have it in here. Let's open up one that I've done previously, one that I prepared earlier. So if you want to link something from Google Drive or something from G Suite into Asana, that's quite easy. You can jump into the description and you can just drop a URL in there. That's the easiest way to do it. But also, if you want to attach a file, you can go ahead and attach from Google Drive, or of course, upload something from your computer. You can drag and drop from your computer to attach something in there really easily. Now, personally, I'm not really a fan of attaching files into tasks unless it's like a screenshot or a picture that you're maybe doing for a marketing approval. I would prefer to have all files sitting inside of Google Drive because they're much more secure than emailing them back and forward or attaching them to tasks. By secure, I don't mean there's risk of someone getting access to it in Asana, I mean, it's more risk that things are going to get lost in there. And so having everything in Google Drive means you know that all business files are in one place. So that would be my strong recommendation, is to have your files in Google Drive and then link them into Asana. Russ has asked, does Asana have automations or do I have to rely on Zapier? Good question. There are no like workflows inside of Asana apart from tasks being in different stages, but it's not really like a workflow app where you can say, if this happens, then do that, right? Asana is really about tasks. And so if you want something to keep happening, you could create a repeating task, but that's kind of about it. However, you can certainly use Zapier as much as you like to create tasks and to use that as your workflow automation that then puts tasks into Asana. So hopefully that has been helpful. Okay, I'm going to wrap up here. Thank you so much for everyone for joining. Let me know what was the number one aha you got from this. I'd love to know that from everyone. What's the biggest thing you've learned? And until next time, I'll see you later. Take care.